favorite Lucio Fulci film of all time. Let's review this in 1 second here.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Late Late Horror Show. I'm Dino
Hey.
Aleece. What's going on, Aleece?
Oh, not a whole lot. How's it going over there?
It's going good. It's going good. So we're about to talk about The Beyond from 1981, Lucio Fulci. This is
Yes.
and I didn't even see the first movie, City of the Living Dead. I still have to watch in about a week or so. And City of the Dead is the first in the trilogy of the Gates of Hell trilogy
Yes.
from Lucio Fulci. So technically, although I don't think it matters at all, The Beyond is the second movie, and the third movie is House by the Cemetery, the same year, 1981. So, anyways, we will get to it. Seth the Welsh, hello, what's going on? Connie Clary, John McGee, Black Roses, Edward Stewart, and Dark, who is that again? Dark Heart says, hello all, I see you as kind of my extended dysfunctional family. There you go, welcome.
Aw.
Good to have you here. Dinner will be served soon. Anyways, The Beyond. Let's start talking about this movie. This is a cult classic, supposedly, right, Aleece? But
Yes.
I don't know.
So you weren't really a big overall a fan of this one, I take it.
People are not going to like it, but it's middle of the road for me. I think the ending kind of boosted it a little bit for me, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about everything, but hey, Colonel Crypto, Rocky John, what's going on? Hey, it's Dave Plouffe, who just came in to say hey. Good to see you. But how about you, Aleece? What did you think, man? Your first thoughts on this film?
Yeah, well, it being called a fever dream is entirely correct. That is that's a very accurate summation of the film. I mean, I did enjoy it. I thought that as a concept, the concept was more interesting than the overall execution, with the exception of the very beginning and the very ending, which I loved.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah. Hey, Becca.
There was a lot of interesting music choices, which some of it I really, really enjoyed, and others it kind of made me laugh. But it was, I think, partly because of the music, but a lot of this movie made me think a bit, like maybe brought to mind spaghetti westerns. And then I read that Fulci had directed a spaghetti western in '79, and he is one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite directors. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah, it opens right up with Grindhouse Presents.
Yes, that had me really excited.
Yeah. And Quentin Tarantino, a big fan of Grindhouse films. Hey, Harry Scott, good to see everybody in the chat. Make sure you give a thumbs up and all that good stuff. So, I agree with you. Beginning, the end. You said spaghetti westerns. I didn't get that vibe at all from this film, but you did a little bit, huh?
A little bit. I think.
Okay.
It was largely the musical choices and the score, which I don't think that the composer had done any spaghetti western, and just sort of when in a lot of scenes, like when the music would start, like in a moment of action, that's just kind of what brought it to my mind, and I could just picture it in a spaghetti western. I guess it kind of gave me the vibe of it, not necessarily like, oh, this is exactly what a spaghetti western does. It just had some parts like had that similar sort of feel to it.
Yeah, now that you say it, I guess I wasn't getting that off of anything, but if I would have focused on the music and the soundtrack, maybe I would have. The thing with Italian directors is most of them have done spaghetti westerns because throughout the 60s, 70s, and up until 1980 or so, they would do whatever came their way. A lot of these directors would do comedies, drama, horror. I mean, even though they loved horror and that was their niche, they would do a little bit of everything. So spaghetti westerns for sure. And let me say hello to Muse. Good to see you back with us. CM. And who else came in here? I saw somebody else. Erg. It's all good. Oh, Zusia. Good to see you. But yeah, no, this and you know what? You would really like a lot of the Giallo films too, if this kind of did it for you. It still had this feel. But you know, it's the gore, I think, that kind of threw me off with this film. I say
I guess
thank
I wasn't expecting. I was not expecting that quite so much.
well, I would say thank God we had Tom Savini. I didn't I didn't look up. Listen, I know that's Fulci's thing. Fulci's thing is gore, and he experiments in every film he does with how could. And this is what this film was. Every death, you would look at it and go, "Oh," like he's sitting there going, "Oh, how can I make a death scene here? How can I make it as gory as possible, different?" And,
Yeah.
you know, and it just. But the look of it. Listen, I know it was 1981, but they were doing some pretty good effects even in the 70s when it came to all on gore. But he took that kind of plaster of Paris type muddy kind of zombie look to a lot of
Yeah.
his makeup effects, and you know,
Some
and the
some
and the
shots, some
zombies.
things look
Go
good,
ahead.
but others was like I honestly I laughed a few times.
Oh
Like
yeah, no.
it was just yeah.
I love
This
gore and
when we
and
get to the
horror films.
spider scene, oh my god.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. That was funny too. Geek Strong. I love gore in my horror films. Listen, I do too, but you know, and I know most of Lucio Fulci's like deaths and gory scenes are like this in this movie. You know, there's a certain. Uh, I don't know the makeup effects artist that helped them or special effects artist, but they all have this look, and I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know. It just didn't look all that good.
There was one scene too where they clearly like the one corpse guy or his ghost, it's a little unclear, but he had, you know, it was very obviously like a mask, but then they didn't blend the makeup down onto his neck and his chest. So
Yeah,
it looked just so artificial. And then to begin with, like his nose was way too wide, but then that there was like nothing done from the chin down pretty much.
yeah,
So
yeah, and you can even in one of the scenes see his eye blinking, and
yes.
but yeah, no, it's even the zombies towards the end of the movie, and they're all zombies. Listen, it's the gates of
I did
hell
not see
open.
a zombie apocalypse coming. That took me by surprise. I'm like, oh well, this
Yeah,
took a turn. Okay, all right.
well, and I think the movie would have been a heck of a lot better if it quickly led up to the gates of hell opening up and the whole zombie apocalypse starting, kind of. It was kind of just thrown in there at the very end. And again, I know Italian directors and Lucio Fulci. Slow burns are slow burns when it comes to Italian horror, for the most part. Not all of them, but yeah, this is a little bit of a slow burn, and not in a bad way. I mean, it's an hour and 28 minutes, something like that, which is a
Yeah, it's
good
not a very
time.
long movie.
But when we get to the zombies, you can see that they're normal people with flesh tone colors. They haven't been really dead that long. They
Yeah.
just sat in a chair and put the makeup on, and they're zombies. You know, it was kind of funny. Savini was really cool. Had the pleasure to meet him 1988, 1996. Very cool.
Ooh.
Mike Barrett, what's going on? Yeah. And again, don't get me wrong. It's a very good movie. It just, I was expecting like, woo, wow, this is great. And I didn't get that at all. Like you said, the opening scene where they start the movie and it's kind of like a sepia type of
Yeah.
fine print, through the film. I thought that was, to take us back to 1927 is where the film starts off. This house in Louisiana. It was funny listening to them kind of try to do a Louisiana accent, and
Yes, these the actors doing the dubbing, clearly not Southern.
yeah. Hey, Purple Valkyrie.
Purple
How you doing?
Valkyrie,
Yeah.
love your username.
Oh yeah, was just on her channel talking about the big UFO news that's going on, or not UFO news, or
Oh.
what would you call it? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, you guys. But anyways, getting to the movie. I do love the opening scene, and you can kind of walk through the opening if you want. Listen, the movie's kind of based. I think it's kind of basic, so that I'm not full of information this time. There's just
The plot itself is pretty. I mean, what
pretty simple.
little plot there is very. It's pretty bare bones. It's pretty upfront, but yeah, I think I don't know. Like, I feel like overall, had the movie gone more towards the almost fantastical, dreamlike, the ending that it worked towards, if that had been more incorporated throughout the entire film,
yeah,
I probably would have enjoyed it more rather than it just kind of stringing scenes together just to. A lot of times it just seemed to be like gory for the sake of being gory.
That's Lucio Fulci. That's what he
Yeah.
does.
Which,
like,
I mean, I don't mind that, but it's just
right.
because there were other ideas there that would have been a lot more interesting to explore and to see visually, but that wasn't what the actual focus was.
No, it was gore and then put a story around it, and he kind of always does it. Mike Barrett does say, out of his 3 gore gothics, I like House by the Cemetery the best. And so far, that is the one I like the best too. I am still in the process of watching City of the Living Dead, so we'll see. But yeah, I agree with you, Mike. And Ian Sharp says it hasn't aged well. I don't know if it didn't age well in my eyes, but it just again, I'm going back to the makeup effects. It kind of annoyed me in some scenes. So that's all I can say about that. But let's see. The opening, when we get to the opening, it's a very cool scene, how they structure around 1927 and go to get this warlock, and who ends up becoming a themed character throughout the film. But yeah, you want to take this, Elise, talk about the beginning of this?
Oh, well, just the character of the artist warlock guy, essentially a lynch mob comes in because they think he's performing black magic. Now, I got the sense that he was basically guarding this gate of hell, and he was the one who was able to see what it was and trying to like protect the world from it, but then it was misconstrued by the townsfolk, and they think that he is evil, but I thought that he was like actually trying to keep this gate of hell from being exposed, and he was affected by it, and like it's showing through his art like what was actually there, but he himself wasn't actually like an evil guy, but he just ended up taking the blame for it, essentially.
I think you could be right. I didn't think that deep into it, honestly, but I think you're right because he had the book of Eban in his
Ivan, yeah.
room, and it was the rip-off Necronomicon book, whatever. I mean, this movie has elements of like kind of Evil Dead, every zombie movie ever made, and Amityville Horror kind of. There's just a whole lot of different kind of vibes going on, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that because the movie focuses on the one art piece, the painting that he did do of hell.
Which I love. I
Yeah.
like I would hang that painting. It made me think
Oh,
of Dali, but like a more bleak Salvador Dali.
yeah. Yeah.
I really loved it. I would totally have that as a print, which maybe tells you a lot about who I am as a person.
No, listen, I think that's the painting's cool. I mean, it shows little bodies laying around, which we get a glimpse of at the end because he's painted hell. And how he knew that, well, he's a warlock, so he probably envisioned it and the goings on in the house itself, which was a gateway to hell. Uh, I would like to know more of the story behind that because even though we get the glimpse in 1927 of everything that happened to this warlock guy, if this was always a gate to hell, like, because it wasn't just the breaking down of the bricks that opened it back up, or was it? I mean,
I think that might have been all it was. I was confused about that
yeah,
as well.
yeah, I wasn't sure about that because literally at the beginning in 1927, stuff was going down. No, the gates were not open, but later on, when they chipped away around that little area, then the gates. So yeah, no, I think I think we're right. See, listen, his films are both gory and sometimes confusing. So that is
Yes.
known. With that said, who the heck knows? But I would like to know more about this gates of hell and how it. I would like an earlier story about this all because there's a little symbol on
Yes.
there, you know,
Like
that
I would rather have watched a movie about the artist guy. Like that's the
yeah,
story that I personally would have been more interested in seeing. But
I think that's kind of a cool idea. Yes, exactly. Kind of that period and taking place in kind of 1927. That would have been cool. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think 100%. But yes, they grab this warlock guy. They run him down through this cave system down in the basement, and boy, do they give him a one over, right, Elise? I mean, it's
Yeah.
terrible.
Oof, this poor guy. I did
Oh,
when they approach him in the room, room 36. They're hitting him with a chain, and there's one shot of him actually getting hit on the face, but then it cuts away to just the sound of the chain hitting him, his screams, and then it's just to the shots are just cutting to his painting, and I really liked that. But yeah, then
yeah.
when they take him down into the underground basement area, and they uh, basically crucify him.
Yeah,
They
they
nail
pound.
him through the
Yeah.
wrist to the wall. It's yeah, it's pretty brutal stuff. And then, but what was it that they were throwing on him that made his face like burned and melted his face a bit? What it
The,
almost looked like plaster, but I couldn't tell what it was.
in Lucio Fulci fashion, he must have some kind of yeah. It seemed like acid plaster. What more can you say? He was throwing like a white
Yeah.
plaster all over his body, and seemed like it was burning his skin a little bit. I mean, am I wrong?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like that,
So
yeah, because I thought maybe they were doing sort of a tar and feather, but like that's clearly not tar. It's like bright
right.
white, and it looked like it had the consistency of paint or plaster or something. So that's why I was a little Just like, I don't know what it is, but it's burning off his face. So
It's
cool.
mud. He would do a lot of even Zombie, the film, has that same kind of, they did that kind of muddy kind of look, and I don't care for it a whole lot, but it is what it is. Geek Strong says, I'm about to watch the scariest thing ever, Super Bowl halftime show. Oh boy. Yeah, good one, Geek Strong. Let's see. What do the people have to say? Dark Heart. Fulci has such a cinematic eye. That shot of the blind girl Emily on the Pontchartrain causeway with the German Shepherd is absolute genius. Yeah,
I did write that down in my notes. Like it's a little bit coming up a little bit later, but yes, I adored that shot. I thought it was it was beautiful and very unnerving. Also, that was there's a lot of really great shots and cinematography in this movie. I don't want to overshadow that. Like, there is a lot of visual beauty and like a lot of imagery that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, same here. Again, not to overshadow it. Yes, because it is one of the highlights of the movie. He really did recreate Louisiana. He didn't take it and shoot it in Italy or different locations. He actually shot it in Louisiana, and was able to make a creepy atmosphere when it came to that house. The house was fantastic itself.
Yeah.
I want to live there. I mean, that's how creepy I am. But beautiful old house, and yes, the cinematography was great and had a very fever-like, quality, especially the young little girl who I call Pippi Longstocking, but her name's Jill.
Yes, she reminded me a little bit of Max from Stranger Things. So I just, like, in my notes, I didn't know what her name was until the end of the movie. So I just kept calling her not Max, but
yeah, her name was Jill. But if she would have cut those pigtails off, which were long braided pigtails, she would have looked like Max a little bit in the face. She had that look.
Yeah, and she had reddish hair as well. So, but it was like something about like her eyes. Well, before, well, actually, season 4 of Stranger Things, like the eyes there a little bit too. Actually, after she goes blind, I hope Max is going to be okay. But
listen, I think she'll be fine when we go back to the next season of Stranger Things. Mike Barrett, there's not much logic in these films. Pretty much plays like a dream. Exactly. And I think that's the good thing about his films, the quality of some of these. A lot of even the Giallo films will play out that same way. Where it's time to wake up from the nightmare, and but yeah. And then we're introduced to a bunch of people that start dying there. And
yes, poor Larry. Just he had a lot of he gets knocked off of the scaffolding working on the refurbishing the hotel when he sees Emily, right?
Yes, the blind woman.
He sees her and falls off of scaffolding, and like, he must have a lot of internal bleeding because he's just like, blood is just pouring out of his mouth. And they have the doctor come there and then take him to the hospital, and like he wouldn't just call for an ambulance. This is 1981, and your town is clearly not that far away. But we don't have time for logic. It's not that kind of movie.
Plumbers were disappearing. Yeah, Ian Sharp. Yeah, no, listen, when he fell off that scaffolding, it was only like 10 feet off the ground. I don't think that would have happened. But again, this is a Fulci movie, and you've got to have blood come out of the mouth. The worst was when the plumber got it down in the cave.
Oh, poor Joe.
Poor Joe. Yes, the plumber who Yeah, he's the one that technically opened up the gate because he started pounding around where the leak was coming from, and that
Yeah,
kind of
I
opened it
liked
up.
Martha was giving me kind of Mrs. Dudley vibes a little bit. I was very much expecting her to like she's kind of creepy and seems like she might know more about the house than she's letting on, but which I think I thought that was going to be more of a thing than it actually was, but um yeah, and I wrote down when Joe's down in the basement and he's knocking apart the wall. I'm like, Joe's in for an unpleasant surprise, or maybe a few casks of Amontillado.
Oh, yeah, little Edgar Allan Poe. Always something behind the wall, buried behind the wall. But yeah, no, he basically just opens up the gates of hell, and
And yeah, this clawed hand comes out and just.
one of the coolest. I would well, okay,
I liked this effect. It was
yeah, no,
nasty and pretty amazing,
yeah, the finger kind of grabs his face, goes into
and
his corner of his eye, and just like
just kind
pushes
of
it
wedges
out.
it. Yeah, like he doesn't really
Yeah.
gouge out, just sort of pushes it out aggressively, which almost was
Yes,
worse
it's like
because you're not
yeah, it's
expecting that.
no,
Um,
no. I mean, it's different than anything you really see when it comes to eye gouging. I don't know.
oh, this movie hates eyeballs. Just like
Fulci.
it does not like people being able to see with their eyes. It doesn't like eyes being kept in the skull. It just loves to pop them out and blind them. This movie hates eyes.
Listen, Fulci, the even Dario Argento. There's something about the Italians when they're with their horror. They focus in on the eyes. There's always something going on with the eyes. So it's a thing. It is a thing. But in this movie in particular, yes, Emily the blind girl, the like white lens contacts that they had to put in there.
Oh man, like
You
I
could
wrote
tell it
down like
worked.
those contacts had to have been brutal.
Well, you can
And
see.
I read a little bit of stuff, and yeah, they were really really difficult for the actors to wear, and blinded them completely. I mean, not like permanently, but while they were wearing them, they couldn't see at all, and it was really painful. Which they look it; those look uncomfortable as all hell.
Well, and when you're watching the film, you can see how red their eyes are and bloodshot, and like it's dripping with tears because it
Yeah, it
hurts.
looks really great. It's really effective, but oof,
Oh,
I don't
they had to have
envy
been
them
going,
that
oh my God,
experience.
yeah, when can I get these out? Sir Pike, what's going on? Cheerio, Maderio. Good to see you. Fulci got to get the eyes in there. Yes, Mike Barrett. Fulci hates eyeballs. LOL. Um, Ian Sharp,
That should
Argento,
be a T-shirt. Fulci hates eyeballs.
right? And we can get that would be good with the finger. Because yes, it kind of
Yes.
goes in, it kind of goes in behind and pushes it out. It's very
Yeah.
disturbing. Um,
Oof.
but I tell you, again, jumping back to the beginning, also, it definitely had at the beginning a very gothic feel to it, and
Yes.
kind of carried on through the rest of the film, even though it was 1981. But yeah, I like that about it. Like the cinematography, but you know, anyways, who else should we touch on? The Warlock. There was also the Book of Eban that was in his room, which kept reading, about, opening up the gates, 7 gates of hell. There are 7 locations, and each containing the gates of hell. And I'm like going, yeah, that's actually a pretty darn good idea for a movie too. I mean,
Yeah.
locations of all these gates to hell. But it's just pointed at, and then you go on. But the book is in the room 36 where he was staying, and you kind of get ringing from there, and the door is locked. And the new owner, played by Liza Merrill, no, Liza Merrill, played by Katrina McCall.
Yes, Liza's the name, the character
yeah,
name.
yeah. So Liza's kind of the taking over ownership, and sounds like it's her last kind of thing, Otherwise, she says
Yeah,
she's
like this is
going
her last break because she's had other like failed like
businesses and
business
stuff.
and career attempts, and like this is kind of her last shot. Her inheriting this dilapidated old hotel.
Yeah, and she goes,
Yeah,
if this won't work out, I'm going on relief. Is what she said.
yeah.
I'm like, that's
But
funny.
I mean, if she had been able to get the hotel to opening, like with all like the history and the deaths that happened, my God, that business would be booming. People would be like clamoring to stay in room 36, and
Oh
there'd be like
yeah,
ghost tours and stuff. Like, man, if that would have been super lucrative if she'd just been able to get there.
exactly. Yeah.
Wasn't
Well,
for that damn hellmouth.
uh, yeah. Again, we'll talk about the ending when we get to it, but then we're introduced to the plumber at the morgue at this hospital, and everything is kind of desolate, and the hospital itself is so barren. There's nobody really there.
Yeah, but a very one note that I made, because the so Joe is killed, and Martha finds his body along with the long dead body of the artist warlock guy, and
Yeah.
then they're just in the morgue and being worked on by the mortician. I'm like, that was really fast, and there's no crime scene, there's no investigation, there's no police after like two dead bodies have just been found, but it's not that kind of movie. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, I didn't even see. Listen, I watched this late horror. I mean, late last night. So, I was kind of towards the end going. So who knows? I was having kind of a fever dream watching it. I don't know, but I didn't even think of that. Yeah, no crime scene, and you find two dead bodies down there. I mean, yeah.
And they got him from the basement, not only like to being autopsied really damn fast. That process is a lot longer.
Oh yeah, and I was leading up to the next kind of death too, where they're in the morgue and the plumber's on one, bed, and the other body of the warlock is on the other one. And first you get the doctors coming in to do a quick thing, like the one doctor, which was weird, Aleece, right? He put some probes on the warlock, the 100-year-old corpse,
Yeah.
to find brain
I mean, at this point,
activity.
it's like 60 years. Like, the
Well,
corpse is like 60
yeah.
years old or whatever.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
but
Did
yeah,
I say 100? Yeah. I'm bad in
I
math.
didn't know what that was. I know they did mention like why or like what it was for, but I didn't write it down quickly enough, and it doesn't really factor into the plot. I think it's more of a to build more suspense.
I
Seth
guess.
the Welsh. Maybe there were no police because all hell has broken loose. That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, the gates of hell were open, right? So perhaps it was starting already. I mean, I don't know.
Your guess is
Because
as good as mine.
listen, there's a lot of this movie that don't kind of make any sense, but the strobes on the side of the head in the machine, as soon as the doctor walked out, it started going boop, boop. So I'm like, that's
Yeah,
heartbeat or
brain activity,
yeah, I don't
something.
know, but it doesn't really matter. The plumber's wife comes in is the next big scene where I'm like,
Yeah, she just moseys on in, no supervision.
leaves Pippi
She dresses
Longstocking
him
out in the
herself.
hall. Yeah,
Yeah, which was, I'm like, oh yeah, doesn't work that way, but okay.
yeah.
And after fully dressing her deceased husband, then she turns and notices the horrifying corpse of the artist warlock guy, and then screams. Like it took her like an hour just to turn 3 feet, or like turn and like look like 3 feet to her right or whatever. It's like he's been there this whole time with his face unzipped, like out of the body bag, which I don't know why they would just leave it like that either. But dream logic. Just go with it.
No, the warlock, why his head was out of the bag and everybody else's was in, other than the corpse that was getting dressed, the plumber. I have no idea. Ian Sharp just say pulsing brain. Your guess is as good as mine, but zapping the corpse maybe to make it dance. Okay, no. You guys are getting crazy now, silly. You guys are silly. So yeah, we get that, and I do like when she cuts down the middle all the clothing, so she's basically laying the clothes over. There was nobody to help her to put the clothes on. It was odd.
Yeah.
Whatever. But her death, another interesting one, and one that kind of don't make sense to me either. I see you, Aleece. Go on.
I just wrote one thing I wanted to point out, because clearly the hospital and the morgue, that's all very clearly a set. But one of the doors says "Do not entry." I'm like, oh, because English is their second language. That's funny.
Right.
Joe's wife took a long ass time to notice the other body, and then whoops, formaldehyde. I'm guessing that's what it was, but whoops, formaldehyde. My band name.
Well, she basically, they go back out and show Jill, and then come back, and Jill comes through the door. And
she hears her mother scream, and then she comes in, and her mom is just on the ground, and the tipped over jar of formaldehyde, I'm guessing, is just tipped over and is on her face, and it's just.
Well, does formaldehyde have acid in it? I know it's acid.
I mean, yeah, but I don't think it would melt your skin off. I don't know. I haven't done my formaldehyde research tonight.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying let's just go with acid, because
sure, just an unopened bottle of acid.
No, it's an open bottle of acid. I guess
that's what I mean. Open, like I meant open bottle of acid just sitting out there as you do.
Old prune juice, just catching up, Dino, by the way. I could only make it about 20 minutes into City of the Dead before it got way too daft for my taste. LOL. Okay, no worries. Don't worry about it. I mean, to each our own with these movies, right? Listen, this is a cult classic, and I'm kind of middle of the road on it, and there's a lot of things I didn't like, and there's a lot of things I did like. So this death, though, I guess hospitals leave a big glass mug or jug of acid with no lid on it on the top of cabinets to fall on people and burn their whole body. But the point is, she's dead, I guess, laying on the floor. And
I don't know if she was dead already or if she had just passed out or been knocked out, but I mean, she's definitely dead after whatever acid it is just pours on her face.
Yeah, listen, I think she's dead, because once that acid starts pouring on her face, she doesn't blink, she doesn't move. It just, hey, let's sit here for a minute and watch acid burn a body and melt it. And that's what we did. And that's all it was. And I'm just looking at it going, this is, this isn't like making my mind do flips and flips. You know what I mean? It just didn't do anything for me. Did it do something for you? You like it?
I mean, I thought the effect is like whatever it was out of the body, like kind of this bubbly, goopy blood liquid is just seeping and it's going towards Jill, towards not Max. And then this film is very goopy. So I know it's.
Well, and that's what he does. Even when the plumber was killed down in a cave, there was like this.
Oh yes, like
baby food.
All this stuff coming out of his mouth that was very, very gross. yeah, just drooping, just goop and droop.
Yeah. No, it was like icky baby food. It was kind of like Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. Remember that? Where
Oh, yeah,
every
yeah.
every scene was kind of like that. It was glop. It was just oatmeal with blood in it, and it just looked so disgusting and gross. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Apparently there, let's see, what do you got to say, Dark Heart? Apparently there was no official shooting script whilst filming The Beyond, and lots of scenes were dreamed up on the spot between Fulci, David
Yeah.
Dark Heart. Yeah.
And like the script that they did have was about 3 pages long in its entirety. Like they just,
Everything
yeah.
was on the spot. And listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but when you got somebody of Fulci's status, so to speak, just going and just shooting something. Listen, it's fine. It's fine. But we're introduced next, kind of to. We've got Emily, the blind girl,
And
moving
her
about.
puppy.
Yes, her German Shepherd, her seeing eye
Yes.
dog.
Dickie. He's the best character of the movie because he's a dog, and a dog is always going to be my favorite character.
Dickie. Okay, gotcha. The German Shepherd is cool. I've always wanted a German Shepherd, but never able to get one. But anyways, what's her name? Liza keeps seeing her, and we're introduced to another character, Dr. John McCabe, played by David Warbeck, who's been in other films. But Dr. John McCabe came to get. I think he came to get Joe. No, the guy who fell off the platform.
Larry, the
Larry.
first, yeah, the guy who fell. And then
there's going to be this dynamic between those three through the middle of this film. Yeah, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
You okay there, Aleece?
Just adjusting. What was I?
Oh,
and then and Liza's just like out having milkshakes with Dr. McCabe, and like all this. Apparently in this time frame where she's gone and she's met Emily, and she's like gone out shopping, she's having milkshakes with the doctor, and in this time Joe has died. His and the other guy's body have been discovered, brought to the morgue. His wife's dead. Like a lot has happened, and she's just kind of been, I don't know, doing just out and about, I guess. But again, dream logic. So,
well, Liza meets her kind of on this dreamlike, road that goes over the ocean down there, which is a real road. I guess I don't know Louisiana down there, but I know they got one that goes out to. Anyways, it's a cool scene where she's driving all the way up and she sees Emily and the dog just standing in the middle there in the road, and that's where.
And Emily is calling out her name. Because that happened right after Joe's death when his eye gets kind of swooped out. But I loved that it was just like a hard cut to that bridge or the causeway. And I really liked how that was done.
Yeah. So that's how we're introduced to Emily's character. But Dr. David, see, there's a dynamic going on there where Liza is always seeing Emily out and about, and even sees her house, takes her to the house with the dog. But Dr. McCabe does not. I like that he doesn't even have a first. Oh no, it's John. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm enthused, right? John doesn't believe her. She's starting to twist off and kind of lose it a little bit, but John is kind of doing some investigating,
and of course it's such a trope in horror films in general, but usually it is like the female protagonist is the one who is experiencing things, and then whoever the male protagonist is the man of science and ration and like, oh, this can't be real. Like I'm like, oh, Of course, it's this character, it's this guy.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's exactly it. John is exactly what you said. Yeah, and he just doesn't believe that she's seeing Emily. Is basically what it comes down to, because we come to find out that Emily's kind of trying to warn her
Hmm.
about things, and that house is, you got to get out of there, and Liza is saying no, and in the meantime, John's investigating that house and finds the book there, because the book ends up missing from the hotel. And it's just a bunch of convoluted stuff. It makes sense that Fulci just kind of improvised scenes one after the other, because it kind of,
Yeah.
you can tell. So, yeah. Eric Hutchins, what's going on? Good to see you in the chat. Never seen you before. Welcome. Good to have you. Let's see. Did I miss anything else? No, that's about it. So where are we at in this movie?
Well, then there's the quick.
Spider,
We
you want-
see Joe's funeral, and I've never been to Louisiana or New Orleans. I would love to go, and I would love to go to those
Yeah,
cemeteries. Like I just had,
yeah.
I would love to go to a cemetery like that. And we
That's the first
see
spot
that,
I'd go. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
But then we see that Joe's daughter, Jill, she now is blind herself. She's got the creepy blind eyes.
Yes. So she's evidently possessed. I mean,
Well, see, I
that's
took
kind
it.
of
I think it's open to interpretation, but the way
okay. I'd like to hear what you got
I
to say.
I kind of took it, like, I mean, it could lead to being possessed, but like when you are faced with like whatever that evil is, that causes, like, seeing it with your own eyes causes you to go blind yourself.
Huh. Okay. I mean, listen, that's, I guess, plausible, but I think,
this is kind of what I got from it, but like I don't know.
well, I mean, I think it's just once you're, well, yeah, see, I mean, it's hard to understand, because we get the end scene, okay? Oh, I'm going to sneeze. This is terrible. I can't sneeze on there. Okay. So we get the
It's
end
illegal.
scene, and you remember what happened in the end scene, okay? With
Yeah.
the eyes. So that kind of, I think, goes with listen, it doesn't really matter either, but I think it could be your thing. It could be hell is on the loose and they're being possessed and taken over. How else would dead corpses become zombies and start walking the earth? I mean, the book did say, the narrative, the exposition, when they were talking about that book, Ibon, that once the seven gates of, or yeah, the gates of hell are open, then
The
like,
dead rise. Yeah.
yeah,
I thought that, yeah. So there was that. I just thought with the blindness, that was like, because these were, uh, at least as far as we know, not, they were not dead yet. But it seemed to me like that it was when you witness that evil, that it can cause you to go blind. That's what I got. Could
okay,
be that and other things.
yeah. I mean, listen, that's fine. The ending kind of, what did they witness? They witnessed hell. But anyways, let's get to the spider scene, because we're kind of up to that, where what's his name was getting. I'll let you talk about it since you're.
So it's the I guess the architect that Liza has hired to work on the house,
Yeah.
and he and Liza. Well, first of all, they're walking around. They go into before the actual spider scene, but they stop into this little bookstore because she thinks that she sees the book Ivan.
Yeah.
But then she walks in and the book is different. And I love the bookseller. It's this like little old man. And he's just sitting there, just kind of laughing. And like, I feel like this man is like a fae creature. Like, he reminds slightly,
like a
slightly. I don't. He reminded me of like he reminded me a little bit of this character Garmely from Critical Role / Legend of Vox Machina. Just like he just seems like he would just like disappear and like he's just laughing and like reading to himself and just being kind of a little goofy. I'm like, oh, this guy, like he has he's like a satyr or something. He's like that's the vibe I got.
Yeah, no, interesting guy. If I had a bookstore like that, I'd probably be going in to talk to him as often as possible because he seems interesting. So I get it. And then but he does end up going the architect to the library, the place that sources the original prints to the house.
Yes, so he's looking for the plans of the hotel, and it was, the guy's like, okay, well, I'm gonna pop out. I'll lock the door behind me, and then he gets up on this ladder. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's gonna fall. This is gonna be bad. Oh, there he goes. And yeah, like saw that coming a mile away, that he was gonna fall from the ladder.
And evidently killed him. I mean, it falls from.
Well, I think it broke his neck, but he was still alive. So he was paralyzed.
Okay. Makes sense.
But then this groovy music starts playing and the tarantulas come out.
And when the tarantulas came out, the groovy music.
I was like, ooh, groovy spiders. Like, here come the Tantos.
Right? And the tarantulas start crawling towards his body. And there's a couple. Go ahead.
I was laughing so hard. Because there are clearly, there are some real tarantulas, but then kind of out of focus to supplement it, there are these very clearly fake tarantulas. They're just kind of moving like this on the ground.
That almost
I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, it's almost like they're on a stick where you just move it like this back and forth and wobble it across.
Yeah, just kind of like moving like this and a little bit like that, like kind of their feet weren't entirely touching the ground at all points, just kind of flopping.
No, it's funny. Ode Prune, she didn't see a spaghetti western. She said it reminded her of this film. So.
Yes, I would. The spaghetti western that Fulci directed is called Silver Saddle. So I would like to try to find that and check that out. I haven't seen it yet, but that was one of the spaghetti westerns, or maybe the only one, I don't know, but that was a spaghetti western that Fulci directed prior to The Beyond.
Yeah. So with that said, what we get in the spider scene is a long, drawn out.
Oh, so drawn out.
Oh my God. It seemed like 5-10 minutes. I don't know, but they crawl up to his body slowly, walking, crawling up to his face because that's where everything's going to take place.
Yes.
And, can you describe? Can you describe it, Aleece?
Oh my God. Well, so they clearly at some points, like they cut between having the actor's face and some prosthetics to a fake head. It was a very obvious fake head. And so the spiders are kind of ripping, like tearing into his flesh, like eating it. And tarantulas don't do this. Yeah, like they kind of peel, like they're like kind of almost peeling off his face and his skin with their fangs, which is tarantulas can have, I mean, they have a pretty hard bite, but they do not do this. And I don't think they would even be capable of doing most of that. I mean, yeah, I know
Lisa's an
it's not
entomologist, so
realistic,
she
but
knows. Yeah,
I don't know. I like creepy crawlies.
yeah.
And
Their jaws,
I'm looking at my snake right now.
uh, yeah, their jaws don't go like this, chomp chomp. They're not chewing cereal, and it looked like it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
taking bites out of his lip, out of his. Then it gets to his eye, and then it starts to do the whole eye scene, and the eye scene went out on for like 2 or 3 minutes. It seems like it was
Yeah,
all
it was gross. It was all very gross to look at. Like I don't get overly grossed out with stuff. Like I've got a pretty, I'm pretty desensitized to a lot of it, but that was like, oh my God, stop. Like what? This is just it's so goopy and so like,
yeah.
it's just so unpleasant to watch.
I don't. Again, it seemed it could just be me. It seemed so like unreal to me. Like most of the makeup in the gore. I'm not going to say the gore effects, like the eyeball coming out, and even the spider scene was, it was pretty icky. You know what I mean? But still, just very odd makeup effects, and it's a Fulci thing. It's a Fulci thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we finally we're done with that scene, which is one of the scenes in the movie. Then we get to I think the back at the house. We're back with Martha, and she's kind of starts to
Yeah.
confront. Yeah,
It was funny. So she goes into so Martha's in room 36 and it seems she's removing the because all the furniture is covered in white sheets.
was that scene annoying to you? Because it was to me.
I thought it was funny because there was some it seemed like she was annoyed that the sheets were there. She's like ripping them off like very aggressively, like she's pissed off, like, I hate these sheets.
But not even,
what is Martha's deal?
but not even taking them all off. Just like some of them should like take half of it off or peel it back a little bit. Or I'm like going,
She's not very good at her job.
no, not at all, not at all.
She's a bad housekeeper.
She's a bad housekeeper.
Connie Cleary, I have a ball python. His name is Gnosis. He's
Nice.
very cute.
Nice.
He's kind of dumb, but he's cute, so he doesn't have to be smart.
He's kind of dumb.
Whenever we feed him, like he'll bite himself when he tries to get the rat. He's like bonked his face on the glass a few times. Like he gets really excited and like kind of like he'll get a bit like food aggressive, but he just gets like, and then he doesn't know what he's doing. But he's he's derpy, but he's adorable.
That's all right. How big though?
He's not very big. He's probably only about like 3.5 feet long when he's like all stretched out. Okay. Yeah, so he's pretty small.
Cool, very cool. Hey Trog, what's going on? Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Can you bring your snake on the live stream? I will sometime. Okay,
he's all in. Thing is, he's in his hide right now, and like I don't like to unnecessarily stress him out. But one of these days, like I'll bring him out before we get started, so he's just kind of like chilling. So it's not like right beforehand. So get him kind of acclimated and just hanging.
That'd be cool. Yeah, just like use it as a scarf,
Yeah.
So let's see. We got to talk about Martha and the plumber, because there's another really, really cool eyeball scene.
Yes, this might have been my favorite, but
and I don't know if the eyeball creeped me out more than the dirty tub.
No, the dirty tub was so much worse. That was, oh my God. So she goes into maybe try to unclog the tub that is just filled with this black nasty
tea.
water. And I'm like, oh, ew, don't put your hand in there. No gloves even. Oh, hi, Joe. That's right. Because Joe rises up out of this mucky water, but she doesn't even put gloves on. She just reaches in and like pulls out a thing of hair. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
I can't.
When she goes down and unclogs it with the hair, it just I don't know why that just disgusts me, but it really, really does.
Yeah, like I don't like getting my own hair out of the drain, much less.
Right.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Hey, Christian, what's going on, man? Good to see you stopping by. Yeah, no, it was very icky. And then we get Joe. Once the water starts going down, we get the plumber.
He comes back and his the whatever mask or that they had on the actor looked very odd to me. Like the nose seemed far too wide, and this is what I was talking about in the beginning. They don't have any makeup like on his neck or onto his chest because like his shirt's kind of unbuttoned, so you see his a lot of his uncovered chest, and it's just there's no blending of the makeup, there's no prosthetic work, so it's just this kind of jakey looking mask and then nothing else. So it looks very artificial, and that was distracting to me.
Yeah, and the eyes were kind of like sewed up, and I don't think they would have been sewn up from the.
I think they might have shown that maybe in the morgue when they were, because I know that they show his. Oh yeah, they show him stitching up his chest cavity because they would have removed everything, but I think they did sew up his eyes maybe, but
really,
I maybe, but.
What's up with that? I don't. Was that a thing? I don't remember that being a thing.
Well, I mean, I think I would. I would think the logic behind it would be so there just isn't a gaping hole where his eyes were. But as far as if you were worth your salt as a mortician, there would be, you would not make it look like there's just stitching on your eye sockets. Like that would be very if you're having an open casket, that would be very upsetting to your family. So not the best mortuary work there.
And I think kind of a goof on his part too, because again, he made the movie on a whim. He just went and let's shoot this scene, let's incorporate this. But they really, there was no funeral. They just sewed up the eyes. If there was a funeral, they wouldn't have done that, and it just was odd. But anyways, the bathroom scene. He's in there really quick. Let's see. Old Prune has a question for Giallo fans. What's the film that features a surreal labyrinth scene? Saw an intriguing clip from a trailer years ago and have been curious ever since. Oh gosh, I think that's one I haven't seen yet. So I don't know.
If anybody knows, I would love to know that as well. And I'll look into that, see if I can find out what that is later, because that sounds really, really intriguing. And I love. Also, I'm like, oh, Labyrinth. Like I like labyrinths, like David Bowie and Pan's Labyrinth. Give me a movie with a labyrinth in it. I'm probably gonna like it.
Yes, labyrinths are good. Both of those awesome, but I don't think you would get any feel of either of those two movies from a Giallo Labyrinth. But anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Pan's Labyrinth maybe a tiny bit. It's Spanish, not Italian, but I could see a little bit of that with some of Guillermo del Toro, just his some of his style, maybe a tiny bit, but definitely not.
Who knows? Let's get to the eye socket.
So also saw this, like, well, saw the death of Martha coming again a mile away, because there are the nails, there's two nails in the wall,
Yeah.
and she's being backed up towards the one by ghost zombie
Warlock.
plumber, whatever he is,
Right,
and like,
plumber.
okay, he's gonna shove her head into the nail. Clearly, that's what's gonna happen. But
Yeah.
I did not expect that when he did, the nail would come and puncture
Push.
her eye out from behind, just kind of shoot it out.
Yeah, it definitely it like just goes right in and pushes the eye out. It's a very good technique used by him. Again, if you're going by gore and just wow, oh my God, look what he just did there. It's fantastic. I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
really that was one of my favorite effects of the film. That eyeball, boop. It was
Yeah.
really well done.
I think the movie, okay, when I say middle of the road, it's got a story around it, but I think Fulci and I think the other guys that were dealing with the special makeup effects and stuff, I think the whole movie was just them having fun going, what are we going to do for next? I could see them all just sitting there and going, what are we going to do for the next kill scene or death scene or gore scene. And, I just see them sitting around having fun thinking over that rather than the story and everything around what's going on in the story, because there's too many holes and gaps in the storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not that it ruins it, but it's
and I
noticeable.
know, yeah, I mean, and there are different ways I think you can take that. Like, I mean, it could be, yeah, just kind of an oversight, but I do think that this movie was meant to be much more, well, like nightmarish and dreamlike in its
Right.
scope, and like a fever dream where
Kind of a
some leaps
fever.
of logic and plot holes don't really matter, because like that's not the point. Like that's not the piece
Right.
that we're watching. But I also I think, because it straddles a weird line, with the kind of with a few exceptions. I don't think it goes hard enough into that sort of surrealist, dreamlike quality that maybe they were going for. So it's easier for those like plot holes or lapses of logic to be questioned, or maybe take you out of the movie, or have that be seen as a criticism and not just an
Yeah.
observation.
No, well said. I think it wasn't either or pushed to one side, but I definitely get the nightmarish kind of quality to it where you can kind of overlook a lot of those things. But uh yeah, let's get moving on to the towards the end of this film, and we're almost there. I do like the scene where Emily, the blind girl, is at her house, and technically, okay, I'm spoiling it, but technically Emily is not a real person. She's the same person from, well, I don't know when she would have
See,
died.
I didn't really know exactly what to make of it, because it's like she had been guarding the house, or kind of guarding the secret, trying to
Yeah.
stop it from the gate of hell to be discovered. Her and her dog, I guess,
Yeah.
both her and
Right.
Dickie.
Right.
But her something about her performance and the way that and just like her eyes really gave me Evil Dead vibes.
Oh, well,
I
yeah.
liked that a lot. And there are some scenes like when she's screaming or whatever, when she's scared, it's very unnerving and very creepy. I really did like that. Visually and performance wise, I really liked what
Yeah.
Emily brought to this film. And just, yeah, her whole vibe was very unsettling. Yeah, enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think her vibe was cool and added to the eeriness, and she played it well. But we don't really, well, we do find out that I think she was one of the victims who was in hell. And she even is confronted at that home, which technically has been abandoned for, he said, 50 years, but she was
Yep.
in modern clothes. So that kind of threw me off. But whatever. You don't need to worry about that, Dino. It's inconsequential. But she's in the house, and all of the zombies that you see, like the plumber was there, the warlock was there, and she's hollering
Hmm.
at all of them, saying, leave me alone. I mean,
I don't want to go back.
I don't want to go back, and just let me be. And the dog attacks. The dog attacks one of the zombies.
Oh yeah, because she's like, Dickie, like attack, protect me, and
Yeah.
like, oh, what a good boy. Until he isn't, but that's your own fault for bringing your dog into the situation, Emily. But I just said
Right.
if that dog gets hurt, I will rage.
Yeah, listen, it was a shame that she sent the dog. Well, what is she going to do? She needs a protector. The dog's going to be protected.
Yeah.
But he comes back, and evidently he's evil now, and he
Because
attacks
he's been
Emily.
injured by,
One
you
of the
see that there is blood on him. It was hard to tell if that was just, from, I guess ghosts can be attacked by dogs. I again don't really know what the
Well, I think they're
logic
in
here is,
hell.
but
I think the whole point is they're in, or hell's been let loose, and the world is becoming overcome but with hell, right? I mean, it's become this different place that they're living in. Like everything's desolate. You don't see anybody, you don't see a soul, whether it's hell itself but everywhere they go, it's not real life. You know what I mean? They're in hell. So, and we find that out kind of toward, that's a little confusing too, Aleece. I mean, I don't know. But the dog
it's one
ends
of
up,
those things like just don't think too much, don't think too
I
hard
know,
about it.
I know. But the dog does attack Emily and bites her neck, and she is dead. So Emily
Yes, this
died,
very
but
fake looking dog head that they
yeah.
use to.
But
It's
but
fine.
but how is she dead if she's already dead? She's not living, but she's just been killed by the dog. Maybe your soul in hell, even though it's supposed to be eternally in hell. I don't know. It somehow, maybe she'll be alive again. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Moving on. I think we get back to the house now, don't we? Dr. John
Let's
and Liza?
see. Yes, Liza just kind of pops back into the story again, and Dr. McCabe uh, is with her.
They're having a discussion back.
He,
Yeah. They're having
yeah,
a
like
discussion
what?
back and forth about, he's saying that what she's seeing might not be real and all that, but then he goes and starts
Yeah,
talking about the book and what it said, and he goes, it's something like, or is it? I don't know. But they
yeah, because
somehow,
then he's like, "Who are you really?" Because I read this book, and it says that this house is guarding the gates of hell.
yeah,
But I don't know why that would mean that why he would think that she's not who she says she is. I didn't really get that, and at one point he's like comforting her, but he's like patting her on the head, but very aggressively,
yeah,
and he's kind of yeah, the doctor's kind of a jerk. Not a big
yeah,
fan
he
of him,
is.
to be honest.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely a jerk. He's misogynistic, is what he is.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, like no, this I'm a man of ration and science. Like he straight up says it. I'm like, yep, there we go.
And I know everybody in the town. I know every spot they live in, and he knows all of New Orleans. And these people
Yeah, and he's like, there's no blind person living in town. Like, really, not one single. Okay, I guess you would know,
he would
Doc.
know. Yeah, he's the doctor. But nevertheless, they end up going. Do they go back to the house first, and then the zombies?
Yeah, so they're at the house. They go down into the basement, and things happen. And they run up the stairs, and they run out of the house. And there is this really cool shot that I enjoyed. It's like as they're running out of the house, you see the silhouettes of like all the ghosts kind of in the windows of the house, which I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, very haunted house-like. Like the lights go on, and you see the shapes walking back and forth. And
so
I will
I
say
like that.
Yeah, I will say the slow zombie effects, whereas it is what it is. They work well here in a creepy, haunting kind of way. So
no, so when they're at the hospital and the dead come to life, I think these are the slowest moving zombies I have ever seen in
oh yeah, no, I was talking about
anything.
the house, but yeah, once we get to the house, yeah, no, going back and forth, the shadows and the windows.
Yeah.
But no, when we go to the hospital, like you said, and we see them, a little slow, a little slow. And you can almost just like go, and I guess.
Yeah, they're just kind of ambling around. I really, really enjoyed the music that's playing for a lot of the whole zombie sequence. And this hospital has the flimsiest doors I've ever seen. It's so clearly a set. Like,
oh yeah.
But then Dr. McCabe, he's got a gun in his drawer because, of course, he does.
Yeah.
And it's very clearly like as he's shooting the zombies, and then it's like he figures out like, oh, headshots kill them, but then proceeds to still be aiming for like their torsos. And I'm like, headshots, come on. You've seen the movies?
Yeah, no, listen, he kept shooting the bodies, and then he would kill the ones with the head. But then after, you think he'd be shooting everyone now in the head, but he was going back to the body, and he's
just wasting ammo. Like you saw already that headshots are the only thing that take him down. Like, and
made no sense.
The part, so he meets up with another Professor Harris, or he's another doctor or professor or something, but his death scene made me laugh so hard. So it's just like glass breaks, and then it's just the shot of the glass flying into the other guy's face, and it's a pretty bad looking dummy, and just the glass just goes boink, and it was so funny.
Yeah, no,
it just looked so silly.
It was silly. It was silly. I'd say that was probably the dumbest kill in the movie. It looked stupid. I don't know. It was what it was. But the doctor is running with the little girl.
Oh yeah, Jill shows up randomly in the morgue.
Yes. And this is kind of a weird situation. They're all running from the zombies. And
the doctor, he looks more annoyed and put off than anything else. Like he barely looks freaked out. He's just like, more of this shit. Like he just seems like he's put out by this whole situation. I don't know like why that's his like reaction, but it's really funny to me.
Yeah, and again, I have to bring out the fact that he just had a makeup effects guy just put makeup on like from the nose up. And then everything else was just nice, warm, tan, fleshy skin. It just was funny. I don't know. But we get towards there's a lot of scuffling at the hospital, getting away from the zombies. It's kind of a fast-paced 10 minutes or so. And what ends up happening is the little girl attacks Liza, and John
Yeah,
immediately turns around.
she goes evil for reasons.
Yeah.
And then and then we get a headshot. Like, that's how you do it, Doc.
Yeah.
It's like the entirety of her face just like disappears.
Yeah, from the
Like,
eyes up, just like
I
boom.
don't know if that was silly or if it was good or something in between.
I don't- it was interesting. It was different. I
Yeah.
mean, listen, I give Fulci all the credit for being different. That's for sure. Most of
Yeah.
everything in this film was different. And I think that could make people go, wow, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was odd. It was odd. And then we get towards the end of the movie here. We might as well just jump because this is kind of the end where they both escape the
Yeah.
hospital and run down back to the house.
They just end up back in the house and the doctor's like, this is impossible. Like,
Yeah.
you literally just saw zombies. Like, what is or is not possible at this point.
At this point, he's got to believe, right? So
you'd think, but then we have my favorite part of the movie, which is the end, but
yeah,
man, what an ending.
mine too. Yeah. Yeah. So they go down into the cave system down in the basement area, and we're coming up to the end of the film where he's going to go right back, and she's showing him where everything happened because they didn't get to that point before. And they end up going through the crack in the wall or the hole in the wall, and they enter the painting.
They're in the painting and
They're in hell.
like, oh,
or whatever the void is.
Yeah, like they're in the beyond.
The beyond.
Hey, that's the name of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, that was visually amazing. Then they turn around, and every time they turn, it's just the same. Like, they're in the same place. It's like they
and
just
all the bodies are laying down on the dirt.
Yeah,
just like
and it's like gray and just this vast landscape of bleak nothingness, and it's
the way
and they really do sell the terror very well. So good on the actors. That was like, and just imagining being, just stuck in that environment, and there's no escape, and you try to turn and you're just in the exact same spot like that. It's very, it's purgatory. It's absolutely terrifying, like, as a concept, and I think it's just so well done. And as
they is a good word for it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. And I mean, and I wonder, because I do think that that Fulci was kind of, coming at things with sort of a Catholic point of view, or like the Catholic mythology. So purgatory would definitely be a part of that. And as far as like a visualization of purgatories go in film, that I really, really like how that was done.
Me too. Listen, the end of the movie, like I said, it kind of, like Ian Sharp says here, the last scene canceled the silliness of the hospital scene. Said. Trog says Dante's Inferno. A little bit like that.
I could definitely see that. I think there is definitely inspired by Dante.
Yeah. In Dante's works, if you haven't seen any of the art, it's unbelievable. I love it. But Then their eyes glow white.
Yep, they go blind.
Are they
And they're just,
blind?
see, that's what their eyes, kind of went over. It was that same, the same look as Emily and Jill.
Yeah. Which again, that's what had me confused, with the whole white eyes thing. It's like, are you possessed, or are you blind, like you say, or now that they're in hell or the beyond, do they gloss over and they can't see? Are they, because Emily, the blind girl, she seemed to still be with her wits and can think for herself, but yet her eyes were made her blind. So you're probably right. For some reason, they want them to be blind. I don't know who's ever in charge down there. I don't know, but that's the way the movie ends. It's not the greatest. There were things that like I said, I didn't like, and there were things that I did, and I would put this middle of the road for me. And a lot of people, I think, would probably, if we're going out of 10, did I miss anything, Aleece? Did you write anything down that I missed?
Not
We
not that I can think of. I mean, I think,
covered it pretty good.
I think so.
Okay. So out of 10, I think people probably a little shocked by what I'd give it. I'm probably going to give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
And that's me being middle of the road. And the 0.5
Yeah.
is just because of the end. I mean, I didn't hate it. I watched it and it was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing ever. I mean, it just was okay. So yeah. How about you?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to give it a set rating because um, this was my first Fulci film, so I don't
Don't judge
have
it
a
on all of
basis
his
of
stuff.
comparison.
No, don't just
Um,
judge it on the film overall. What you think of it?
Overall, I think overall I enjoyed it more than you. I would give it maybe a 6 to 6.5. The
Okay.
end, like the ending,
In the
largely
beginning.
because of that. I just
Yeah.
adore the ending so much. But there are a lot of things, like there are a lot of shots in it that I thought were fantastic. I liked I mean, sometimes the music was goofy, but I kind of like enjoyed that. But like the music, like actually, I really legitimately enjoyed the
Yeah.
music in a lot of sequences throughout the film. So yeah, there were a lot of things within the movie that I really, really did appreciate. And I can go along with it being more of a visual piece than having like a strong narrative.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll say I'll give 6.5.
Okay, perfect. That's about
6.25. I'll put in
okay.
between.
Seth gives it a 7 out of 10, and Ian Sharp 5 out of 10. CM2. I don't think it was that bad.
Oh wow.
uh, 6 for Mike Barrett too. So yeah, I mean, listen, IMDb has got it at about a 6.5, I think. So everybody's pretty much right on. Hey, one Sean Bond, what's going on? Much love to you, man. So yeah, that's the Beyond 1981. Finally seen it, and it is what it is.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I would definitely recommend watching it. It needs to be seen to be believed, and
oh
there are
yeah,
things in it like because I liked that it was entertain. It never bored me.
no,
Um,
it did.
it was, and that's I think the worst thing a movie can be is boring. Like I would much rather a movie be bad than boring. Not that this was bad, but and there are some things that it's like, yeah, the makeup and effects aren't the greatest and it's kind of funny. So you get that element, like it's, you can kind of laugh at it, but then there are some things that are, like really beautiful cinematography and a very interesting, bleak kind of gorgeous ending. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a little bit of everything in this.
Yeah, don't take this the wrong way, but this movie gave me a headache, Cecile.
I can understand that for sure.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you. I mean, there's a just for the, and I've put it down, the makeup effects and stuff, but it doesn't take away from what he brought to it. Listen, if he had a Tom Savini doing the exact same effects, can you imagine how they would look?
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. But for what they are, I mean, the gore effects just are so different and so out there that, hey, props to you, Fulci, for doing what you did. And it is what it is. It was really great. These streams are really good. Thank you, Zusia. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys put comments after the stream's over, and I will always answer them. So yes, there you go. And give a thumbs up if you like. And I guess that's it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You will be.
Yeah, hope everyone's enjoying the Super Bowl if that's what you're into, if you're watching that. Clearly, I'm not.
No, I almost was going to ban Manischewitz Mike for even mentioning the Super Bowl. No, I'm joking, Mike. I'm joking. Yeah, I can care less. Listen, I don't care. If my team was in there, would I care more? Maybe a little bit. I don't know, but not really. I don't know.
I just want the Super Bowl party food. That's that would be my reason. Like hang out with people and eat like the eat the good dip that people make.
Food. Yeah, give me the party and the food. You're going to do part 2 to the Hill House.
Yes, part 2 will be on Thursday. So premiering Friday. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So check that out, guys. Hopefully, as I was telling Dino before the stream actually started, but I've been kind of like icky feeling for the past few days. Like I'm fine, but
I hear you.
So I've just been sleeping most of this weekend. So I'm such a dum-dum. Like I missed my own premiere because I was just sleeping. So sorry, guys, but thank you for watching. And I will hopefully I will not be feeling quite the ick this coming week, so I can chat and be a part of this thing I do.
No, understandable. I felt a little kind of icky too. So, anyways, you got abandoned me. Oh God, you got abandoned me. Okay, bring the snaky boy. Zucia says next time. I will try to bring Gnosis out to say hello. There you go. Everyone have a great night. Okay. With that said, make sure you guys check out the stream tonight. Something a little bit different. Got some Carter Brown mystery, and it will be a mystery night. So I love a mysteries thrown in there. I've never played these ones on my channel, so it's all new. So there you go.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Peace to everybody. Much love. And I was going to say any last words, Aleece, but whatever.
Have a good